Okay, before we move on to the most important part, which is our strategies, let's look at some of the current trends that are going on right now. First, the millennial generation is the largest population of teens in U.S. history. Also, most teens use the internet to do research for school these days, which doesn't surprise any of us. But also that teens view formal writing as very different from the e-communication they use daily. So they don't see really a connection between text messaging, instant messaging, emailing with the kind of writing that they need to do in school and they're going to need to be prepared for in the workplace. Also, not all teens have access to the internet at home, but they do use libraries, friends' computers, etc. This is important to remember when we're making assignments. We can't just assume that all teens have access to the internet anytime that they want to be able to get on. So we need to be sensitive to this. Also, in 2005, 3/4 of online teens used instant messaging, and that was just in 2005. So they really are making leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of us as far as integrating technology into every little aspect of their life. Finally, we come to the most important part. Many of us work with millennial students every day as a part of our job if we work in high school. But this is also important for other people because a lot of us work with coworkers that fit in the millennial generation. And so a lot of these strategies and attitudes that we need to have will be helpful for our job as well. Several of the articles that I read actually focused on millennials in the workplace, and one actually specifically talked about how to work with millennial librarians. So it was a very interesting article to me. So if you find yourself working with someone in the millennial generation or just working with your students, here are a few things to keep in mind. Number one is be open to new ideas. They're going to have great ideas to integrate technology, a new way of thinking about maybe a procedure, but be open to that. When you're open to those ideas, though, help them to have structure around those new ideas and really give them support and direction. You're going to want to help them with the implementation process. You're going to want to help them actually go back and reflect on the implementation to see if it worked well. Let go of some of the control, especially as a teacher. I know at my school, a lot of teachers, when we got the smart boards, had felt like they were giving up a lot of control by asking students for help when they first got it. But really partner with students and let them take over some of the control of the technology. Another important attitude shift is really looking for student needs as far as technology or other things that might be more specific to their generation. You also want to re-examine your assumptions and policies frequently. Students in the Generation Y really really want to know that the reason behind why policies are created. They want to know why they're doing things a certain way, and so making sure that those are actually very relevant and important is really a good practice. You also always want to be looking for the strengths in Generation Y and not get sucked into just the negative stereotypes that everyone around seems to be saying about Generation Y, but really look for those good qualities and look for the ways that you can integrate those qualities maybe into your lessons. Let's move on to teaching strategies that are going to be very effective with Generation Y. The first one is use technology interactively. One suggestion that Mark Prensky gave was rather than just having students read from Wikipedia, instead have them actually research and write an article about something in your area and actually put it on Wikipedia. So have it so that they are interacting with the technology. You also want to build relationships with your students. Even though these students tend to be more active online, they tend to maybe say watch TV or play video games on the internet, they're still very concerned with building relationships with each other and with their teachers. Another really important strategy is to give quick and detailed feedback to students. You also want to create hands-on lessons that involve groups, since these students really learn by doing. Another thing that students really appreciate is that if you are actually an expert in your subject matter, that you're excited about it, that you find out interesting information and really relate it to them. They don't really care if you're a technology expert as long as you are willing to ask for help. Another very important thing is to partner with students and ask their opinion. This is kind of where the trapeze really comes into play, where when you're swinging from one to the other, you grab hands in the middle, and one person can't just do it on their own. So really look for ways to ask for students' input when it comes to teaching strategies that you're using, ways that you can implement a lesson with technology. Another really great strategy is to use case studies when it comes to challenging material. Students watch reality TV all the time, and so seeing how someone else is going to handle a situation really makes sense to them. So case studies, especially if they're visual, are really helpful for these students. You also want to integrate this visual media into lessons as much as possible. Students don't want to watch movies just for entertainment, though. They want what they're learning to be engaging. They want to actually use their time wisely. I have students that come to the media center all of the time because their teacher is just watching a movie again in their classroom. So students actually want to get something out of the lesson. Another great strategy is to use gaming and simulations whenever possible. With more and more things going online, there may be more opportunities for this in the future. It's also great to create a multi-generational setting if possible, maybe bringing in guest speakers, maybe creating mentors. The final strategy that I'll share with you today from the readings that I did is to integrate technology tools that students already use every day into lessons. So many of our students already have cell phones that have digital cameras. So maybe do a journalism project where students can use that camera to go around and take pictures or video clips and work those into a project. These are just a handful of the strategies that are out there that are really effective with Generation Y, but I hope that you've seen a few that you might be able to use when you're preparing for your lessons. As you can see, this has been such an interesting topic that has been so relevant to me as a high school library media specialist. There's so many articles that I read that I wish I could share every detail with you, so go ahead and look at my annotated bibliography and visit a few of those sources. So thank you for being willing to take the leap with me as we try new strategies that really target the needs of Generation Y. And just for fun, here's a little clip again of me on the trapeze.
Hands up,